Narendra Modi is a name synonymous with good governance. Before he became India's Prime Minister, he led Gujarat's developmental journey as its Chief Minister. For 20 long years, he overcame multitude of challenges as head of a government. This is his story. Rebuilding lives from the scratch. Narendra Modi became the Chief Minister of Gujarat in the backdrop of the 2001 earthquake in Gujarat that unleashed wide-scale devastation. When the disaster hit, Narendra Modi was already contributing towards relief and restoration work. Given the scale of devastation, regional, national and international media had written off the region's future. However, Mr. Modi transformed Kutch in a manner that the next decade became Kutch's decade of progress and not decay. Nobody knew that in less than 10 years, Kutch would be one of India's most prosperous and progressive districts. To overcome the housing shortage, the Modi government acted swiftly and integrated local communities, made small teams, gave each team kits and focused on building homes. Gradually, the number of houses increased. The houses were bigger than earlier and were also built as per local requirements. Mr. Modi transformed the agriculture sector by developing an irrigation network and ensuring that water from the NARMADA reached the region. This ensured that in the years after the earthquake, Kutch became an exporter of mangoes, dates and pomegranates. Further, to change the world's perception about Kutch, Narendra Modi launched the Ran Utsav to attract tourists from all over the world. The Ran Utsav, which started as a 2-day event, is today a full-fledged flagship event of Gujarat that spans across 4 months and has brought with it spurring economic and employment opportunities. Mr. Modi's work in Kutch helped India to reimagine its disaster management apparatus. He set the processes that made it easier for governments to cope with disasters. In 2003, the Gujarat Assembly passed the Gujarat State Disaster Management Act, making it the first state with a legal and regulatory framework for disaster management. This was copied by the then government at the centre to pass the Disaster Management Act 2005. Which, like in Gujarat, set up provisions to create the NDMA. Solving people's problems without political calculations. Modi told farmers that he would separate the agriculture feeder from the regular feeder, an unprecedented reform. He said that they would get good quality power for irrigation for 8 hours every day and uninterrupted power for other needs in their villages. However, they would not get it for free. Charging farmers for power was conventionally seen as political suicide. So this was the first time that farmers heard someone make such a forthright, practical but bold promise. You'll get good quality electricity, but you'll have to pay. Farmers agreed and the rest is history. Under the Jyoti Gram Yojana, a huge infrastructure overhaul was undertaken. The government provided 2 separate feeders, one for irrigation pumping and the other for domestic use. The Modi government laid out 23 lakh new electricity poles, 56,000 new transformers, 75,000 kilometer new electricity cable within 1,000 days. Jyoti Gram's innovation of 2 feeders meant that domestic power, a modest load, could now be supplied 24/7. Power for pumping was rationed to 8 hours daily, but with full reliability. Thanks to these comprehensive and all-round efforts, Gujarat's power sector took off. Villages were lit up with 24/7 power supply. Farmers prospered with regular access to quality electricity. Gujarat's water table rose, with farmers using their tubewell pumps judiciously since electricity was no longer free. They kept their side of the promise of raising the water table too. In the words of the Stockholm-based International Water Management Institute, IWMI, in trying to solve water problems, we often look for optimal solutions emanating from our disciplinary or sectorial perspectives. However, holding out for the best often means we miss other opportunities for positive change, as the case of Gujarat, India shows. Jyoti Gram scheme focuses on providing rationally managed subsidies where needed and pricing where possible. Toll collection, an example of technology's innovative use in governance. Narendra Modi, as the Chief Minister of Gujarat, emphasized a lot on the use of technology in the day-to-day affairs related to governance. Mr. Modi realized the power of the internet as a game changer and believed that politicians should use technology for bringing in good governance, accountability, and transparency, as well as reaching out to people. In Mr. Modi's words, e-governance is effective governance, easy governance, and economical governance. It is much cheaper. By installing e-returns systems, Mr. Modi cut back on the theft of tax from various sectors, and the realizations more than made up for the amount spent on installing these systems. This brought in systemic transparency, and a prime example of this could be seen in the taxes collected at checkposts bordering other states. There is a checkpost between Maharashtra and Gujarat called Bilat, and 1 kilometer from there is a checkpost from the Maharashtra government called Pochar. The same vehicles would stop at both and pay the same amount of tax on both the posts. With the use of technology, cars were monitored. The result was that in 3 years, toll center in Gujarat earned rupees 400 crores, more than the toll center in Maharashtra. This ability to plug leakages has been a result of creative thinking and embracing modern technology with a futuristic vision on how states should incorporate the latest in e-governance. Mr. Modi had once remarked that when he became Chief Minister in 2001-2002, he used to find computers lying around like expensive bouquets. With this personal intervention, he ensured that people got used to using them, thus opening their minds to the possibilities arising from it. In the words of Mr. Modi again, when technology becomes a part of your life, it starts driving you. The person who understands this can bring change. Finishing long pending tasks, completing the Sardar Sarovar Dam in record time. The work on Sardar Sarovar Dam, which began in the times of Nehru, had been stuck even when Narendra Modi became the Chief Minister of Gujarat. Despite knowing that this dam was Gujarat's lifeline, successive Congress governments did not let this project progress. A meeting of the Review Committee of the NARMADA Control Authority, RCNCA, wanted Gujarat to reconsider the decision taken to raise the height of the dam under construction in central Gujarat, forcing then Chief Minister Narendra Modi to undertake satyagraha to protest this injustice. Sitting at one place and protesting injustice is one thing. Undertaking the resolve to finish a long pending task through continuous planning, meticulous approach, and firm resolve is another. And this is the mettle that Mr. Narendra Modi displayed as the Chief Minister of Gujarat. Mr. Modi took it upon himself to overcome all the hurdles. He kept striving to clear obstacle after obstacle, thus providing this project the much needed shape and momentum that had been lacking all this time. He even ensured cooperation with other states to ensure that the waters of the Narmada would be shared in a just manner by helping to build canals across the states as well. With the Sardar Sarovar Canal, Mr. Modi took the waters from the Sardar Sarovar Dam to several parts of Gujarat, helping agriculture and bringing drinking water supply in the dry regions of Barmer and Jalore in Rajasthan. The spirit of working to share benefits is part of Mr. Modi's belief of ensuring welfare for all through mutual cooperation. Dealing with the challenges innovatively, targeting the roots of corruption. Ensuring corruption-free, transparent governance has been the hallmark of the Modi government. However, that does not mean that Mr. Modi has shied away from taking the fight to the corrupt and facing the challenge head-on. When the going gets tough, the tough truly get going. With the e-auction of coal mines and telecom spectrum, whose allocations had been scrapped by the Supreme Court, the government ushered in a new era of transparency and rules-based order. It has also helped the exchequer with sales crossing rupees 3 lakh crores, thus validating the decision of the government. Auctions have also gained acceptability as the route for raising revenue and for ensuring greater private sector participation, while preventing any malpractices of the kind that were witnessed earlier. While auction was one peg of curbing corruption, another peg has been to fight black money. Among the first decisions of the Modi government upon assuming power in 2014 was the formation of an SIT on black money. Subsequently, the government has taken bold decisions like demonetization and the enactment of a law on Benami property to push the black money holders to the edge. A tweet by Mr. Modi perhaps sums up his attitude towards corruption. No place for middlemen, no tolerance for corruption, no fake beneficiaries swindling away resources. This is a new India. We have worked hard to remove corruption and punish the corrupt. With the launch of the BHIM app based on the Unified Payments Interface, UPI in 2016, Mr. Modi ushered in an era of seamless digital payment structure that was not only progressive but also inclusive of all sections of the society. It took vision of Digital India to an entire new level. Razor-sharp execution, how Aadhar and JAM Trinity became a reality. Few people possess the ability to accept ideas and criticisms from across the board. True to Indic tradition, Mr. Modi has always kept an open mind when it comes to ideas from even otherwise political rivals or from those who may disagree. A classic case of this phenomenal trait was the revival of the Aadhar card system and the deployment of the JAM Trinity at war footing. At a time when it seemed that the scheme was going to fail, the government put its might behind it thanks to Mr. Modi's patient hearing to Mr. Nilekani. In July 2014, former UIDAI chairman Nandan Nilekani met with PM Narendra Modi and persuaded the new regime to persist with Aadhar numbers and the Direct Benefits Transfer DBT scheme. Nilekani, who was appointed by the Congress to head UIDAI in 2009, was in Delhi in the last days of June to vacate the government allocation he had received. At this time, he and the UIDAI sought and obtained a meeting with the Prime Minister and the Finance Minister. It was a one-on-one meeting. In those 30 minutes, Nilekani outlined the potential of Aadhar. He said, I explained the platform, its expansion across many states, the applications that had been developed, the possibilities recommended by task forces and committees. The PM had a clear understanding of the technology and had questions about migrants and the status of cases in the courts. Nilekani allayed the fears around data security and verification. He pointed to the low cost at which the platform had been developed. He underlined the fact that Aadhar as a platform could help resolve many issues, including the targeting of subsidies and curbing corruption. It could lead to huge savings to the exchequer. He also emphasized the need for an early passage of the UIDAI bill in the parliament. Subsequently, the rollout of the JAM, Janadhan, Aadhar and Mobile Trinity has brought in several benefits. The benefits of backing the idea were delineated by Mr. Modi himself in 2019. Seizing the initiative, setting the narrative, New India's different dealings with Pakistan. For years, India has been facing the scourge of state-sponsored terrorism. This was further compounded by a reactive strategy that sought to only respond in staid diplomatic manner, frustrating millions of Indians while letting rogue states get away with the murder of innocent citizens and martyring our soldiers. With the Modi government, though, things have been very different. Many also felt that the nuclear weapon card of Pakistan restrained India from taking bold, decisive steps in combating terror, even as it continued to sponsor such elements. Many had initially thought that the government would continue a reactive policy when it came to dealing with cross-border terrorism, and may sadly continue with the dossier diplomacy farce. However, 2016 saw the Overton window shift by miles when the Indian Army launched a full-fledged surgical strike and destroyed several terror camps across the line of control, thus upping the ante and exposing Pakistan's bluff of the nuclear card for the first time. This was further reinforced when in 2019 the Balakot airstrike was carried out by the Indian Air Force and Pakistan was left scampering for a response and once again exposed their nuclear bluff to the world. A risk was thus taken and India seized the initiative, showing the world that it was willing to climb the ladder of escalation in national interest. It also exposed Pakistan for what it has been, a sponsor and export hub of terrorism, and clueless about how to deal with a new assertive India that will act decisively, no holds barred. These diplomatic and military moves were not taken in a vacuum. Instead, the government had for 2 years prepared the grounds diplomatically by raising the pitch on terrorism on all global platforms. Even with bilateral talks with several countries, it always stressed on the need to stop differentiating between good terrorists and bad terrorists. Thus, the narrative on terrorism was set right by the government, and it continues to be harped upon so that the message is not lost. Its impact was evident when nearly all countries were found standing with India, be it on the surgical strike issue or on the Balakot airstrikes. showing to Pakistan that its rogue tactics do not find any acceptability in the International Committee of Nations. Foresight and vision. How Atmanirbhar Bharat prepares India for a new world order. Even as the world grapples with the ongoing COVID pandemic, India is swiftly moving to rejuvenate its economy and prepare it for the new world order. The vision and foresight to read the tea leaves and sense the change in the geopolitical scheme of things is a remarkable trait that Mr. Modi has exhibited. Where the world sees a crisis, Mr. Modi has seen an opportunity. And thanks to an alert mind, the stage has been set to propel India in all spheres to the pole position. When the pandemic struck, the country did not have any capacity to manufacture personal protection equipment (PPE). However, in less than 6 months, the sheer strength of the Modi government's resolve ensured that not only was India manufacturing the required PPE kits at an affordable price, it also became an exporter to several countries that desperately need it and are seeking alternatives to existing suppliers. With the announcement of the Atmanirbhar Bharat, the government has provided relief and assistance to all segments of the economy so that they can not just revive but grow exponentially. With this package, the government has unleashed the animal spirit of the Indian economy and helped all segments of society to contribute to the growth. Moreover, the clarion call for making India Atmanirbhar has been extended to the digital sphere as well. With the concerns of data safety and cybersecurity, the government has created, within a few weeks, a highly supportive ecosystem that facilitates the development of India-made software goods and services through finance and mentoring support. This also has ramifications as the Indian market experience enables these service providers to offer solutions for the rest of the world, even as Indian endorsement stands testimony to their quality, thus showing the foresight and vision of Mr. Modi to think long-term.